when I get really happy in my now, when I get very, very centered, I don't know how I'll want more. So I don't know how I'll continue to expand.
Well, we want to say you will. And we want to find a way of saying it so that you'll know it, because as you maintain that vibration and it becomes normal to you, more contrast will reveal itself to you. In other words, there will be another level of contrast within every happy moment, because there is no ending to the variety that produces new desire. It is unending. You see, you might say that from a place of being unhappy. Well, when I get that, when this happens, then I'll really be happy. And we say, you will for a little while. You will for a little while. The way we have demonstrated it before is, so you know what you don't want and you know what you do want. And what you don't want is more dominant, because it's what you've been living. And what you do want sort of shot out like a rocket, an unpracticed rocket that source holds. So now, because you want to feel good, now that that's happened, now that, here's the piece you're looking for. Now that the contrast has produced the new insight, you'll never be really happy until you align with the new insight. So now you've got this emotion. If you're sensitive to it, it's really helpful. So you're reaching for that alignment. So you reach and you don't quite make it, and you reach and you don't quite make it, and you reach and you don't quite make it, and you reach and you make it, and then you know how you did it, and so now you maintain it, and so now you find the feeling place of it, and now this new desire starts to feel more normal to you, and as it feels more normal, you sort of click into a vibrational place of it, and now you're where the vibration of the vortex is, and now it manifests in your experience. So now you not only have the manifestation that you were seeking, but you have a new vibrational platform with a new set of contrasting experiences. So within that wanted, there is now a different level of unwanted. And out of it will be produced yet another desire, which in the beginning feels freakishly odd to you, because you've become naturalized here. But your emotion matters to you, so you reach for the better feeling. And at first it's weird, but then you accomplish it, and then it clicks into place, and you feel the relief of having achieved the alignment of it. And then now the vibration of your grid and the vibration of your vortex are one and the same, so now it must flow in. So now you have another manifestation. And you also now have a new set of contrasting experiences. It's just the way that it is, eternally. Eternally. It's what the evolution of all species is about. It's about what the evolution of consciousness is about what eternalness is about. You never need to worry. You're always going to want more. And those who teach you to be satisfied with what you've got aren't.
That was actually tied in a little bit to my first question, which maybe I could get some clarity on, is when I've listened to your teachings, every time I listen, I always hear something different on a deeper level. And when I was first listening...
Just what we're talking about. But you couldn't hear it if you hadn't reached for it. If you hadn't asked for it. If life hadn't caused you to ask for it, you wouldn't hear it when it came. If you hadn't asked for it, and if you weren't ready for it, you wouldn't hear it when it came. That's what resonance is.
I have a tendency when... because I love your teachings, but I have a tendency then to avoid my contrast through them. I will, I'll feel contrast, and then I'll say, I'm going to turn my attention to something that feels better.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's a little bit of just hang on, it'll be over soon. But
then doesn't it get bigger if I'm not really addressing?
Well, it depends. You could, if you turn your attention to something else and hold your attention upon the something else until it becomes dominant, it's possible for that contrast to just peter out. But usually, if it's active, it will keep showing itself to you until you've moved it to a new place. And ignoring it is not the most effective way of moving it. Now, let's talk about this, because it seems a little counterintuitive, and you're going to hear this really easily. So let's say you have a piece of contrast that's bothering you. and you're sort of fitful about it, and the more you talk about it, the worse you feel, until you've convinced yourself that you should just leave it alone. But it keeps coming up because it's active in your vibration, and so now you're beating up on yourself because it's like you can't control your mind.
Yeah.
And it's not manifesting all that much, although it's starting to a little bit, but it's mostly what's bugging you is that you want to be a better deliberate creator, and so you're just sort of mad at yourself about it. So, but it keeps showing itself to you. Well, what we've noticed is that you can take the subject that's bothering you and diffuse it by going general with it, by backing away from the specifics, not ignoring it and not changing the subject, but taking the subject but just diffusing it by getting more general. Because back there somewhere, in the basis of that thing that's bothering you, is a desire that's really strong within you, that's pulsing in your vortex. And if you can back away from the specifics, because somewhere it got off the trail, somewhere along the trail it got off the track, off the vibrational track. So as you keep backing away from the specifics until you find that place that it feels better, now, really then and only then, can you begin rebuilding it, begin rebuilding the pattern of thought so that it serves you. Do you want to take an example?
Sure, yeah. Recently, my partner and I, we were looking, just in general, we actually weren't even specifically looking to buy a house. And we decided to go out with our real estate agent. And there were 3 houses we thought were good potentials, 1 not so much.
All right, so the fact that you're out there looking with an agent, it's not as general as you think it is.
Okay, that's true. Right, it's a strong desire, but we don't know the financials, so it keeps us more comfortable to tell us we're not committing right now.
Right, but the desire is there, and the agent's desire is there, and now you're off and running.
Right, so we find the house that we want. I mean, it feels different, and I know when I'm in it that's going to be our house. I just know. And so but then the situations around it, we have to hurry to get financing in place. And
so back up just a little bit. Why does it feel so good?
That's what I get confused about. Because it's not the thing that's the feeling, but for some reason that thing evoked
But
this
you see,
feeling.
you can't define that. You can't define that accurately. When you have a feeling, it's in response to a thought. In other words, you just don't have a feeling. The feelings are always in response to thoughts. So it's something that you're thinking about that house that's giving you that feeling. Now, we know, you say it just feels like such and such, but to be able to define why it feels that way is really helpful. So and by trying to define why it feels that way, you're actually going more general. So just try to answer that question. What feels good to me about this house?
It feels like the beach, and we're in Des Moines, Iowa. And it feels like freedom. It feels like movement.
All right, now, why does it feel like movement? Give us that.
Well, first it was unexpected, which is, I think, cool. I love unexpected. It's just...
Feels like my grid's filling in? Is that what you mean by movement?
Yeah.
So it feels like movement. It feels like what we've been looking for, even though we told ourselves we weren't really looking.
Right.
Clearly we were looking.
And it didn't have the qualities that I said I wanted, and I didn't care, because it just felt so good. It just felt like expansion. It felt like expansion.
So I'm not looking for the specifics that I thought I was looking for. What I really want is a new experience. What I really want is a new place to put our things. What I really want is some variety. What I really want is an opportunity to sort of spread out a little bit. What I really want is something to focus upon. What I really want is the fun of doing that. What I really want is something we can afford. What I really want is something that gives us the feeling of freedom, because we're not getting committed to a mortgage that's bigger than we can afford. Doesn't all of that make sense?
Yes.
So what is it that's confusing about that?
Well, it fell through. We didn't get it.
So,
but I still have, that helps. So, but I can carry, and I know that I can carry that feeling, but I have this doubt that there isn't another one like that.
But you didn't even like it to begin with. It wasn't even something specifically that you wanted. So when it fell through, there was disappointment. Why did it fall through?
Because they went with another buyer that they knew they were going to go with all along. So they were going to use us to go back and forth, and we were already at the max of what we could offer.
So that's one way of looking at it.
Yes.
They were toying with us, which doesn't feel good.
No.
At all.
Or it wasn't.
But you could bring yourself into a relief or alignment by saying, not that they were toying with us, but that they wanted the best that they could get for the property. You don't fault them for that.
No, I don't.
We were sort of a vibrational match to it because we were reaching as hard as we could reach financially, and we reached even harder than was comfortable for us. So we were not really a vibrational match to this property, and the universe did not yield to us something that we were really not a vibrational match to. Does that bring you into alignment at all?
Yes.
Now,
but it makes me mad because it was nicer than
so
I
just like you
had been
said,
expecting.
So just like you said, you achieved that new place. Felt good for a minute, but it didn't last.
Right.
Because now you're thinking, well, that must mean we can't afford what we really want. Well, is that the message that's coming out of that? Then you compound it. You get more specific by saying, we found the best possible thing for ourselves, and it fell through. And if we couldn't afford the thing that we really wanted, that we're getting specific negatively, intentionally, then we're not going to be able to afford the next thing and the next thing. Well, talk about shooting yourself in the foot vibrationally.
Yeah.
In other words, we're putting the words in your mouth, but we're getting them from your vibration. So this is the opposite of what we were just talking about with our parent, with his child. What you're wanting to do is soothe yourself. So go more general and try to find some ways that soothe you. There are plenty of houses that are out there. There are houses that aren't even on the market right now that may very well be perfect for us. There are circumstances and events that are lining up that are readying themselves for us. We sort of went on a whim anyway. We said we weren't really ready to buy. We just sort of got caught up in the momentum of all of this. This has been a very helpful experience because we got our juices flowing. Our vibration about a new house is in an entirely different place than it was before. We've gained so much. The contrast has parlayed us into a whole new place. Now our vibration is in a stronger place. What's swirling in the vortex is even stronger. The contents of the vortex, the cooperative components are coming into place. And our work is still the work that it was before, which we didn't accomplish last time because we didn't care about it so much. But now we're going to accomplish it this time. Now we're going to become a vibrational match to now we're going to bring our grid up to vibration with what's in our vortex. The only reason that one party gets the house and the other doesn't is because more things are in vibrational alignment. Now here's the thing that we would say if we were standing in your physical shoes every single time something like that happened. If that had been the perfect house for me, and if I were in the perfect place for the receiving of it, it would have been mine, and it wasn't. So what does that tell me? Something was out of whack. Now, does it serve you better to say the house wasn't right for me or I wasn't right for the house? Which feels better? The house wasn't right for me.
Yes.
But in either case, do you really care? It wasn't right or I wasn't right? Does it really matter? If I had forced the universe to give me this thing that I am not right for, then what's going to happen later? It's just going to get more awkward, you see. Awkward in the beginning, it's good to let it go. But you don't want it to move forward with something that isn't on a stable vibrational footing. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse if it doesn't start out on a stable vibrational footing. So I'm really glad to have had this experience because we weren't really even talking about a house. We really didn't even know what our financial ability is. We don't even know where our financial ability is stabilized. We didn't even really know what we were wanting. The characteristics of that house in and of itself were not precisely what we wanted. I'm in love with the idea of being in love. I'm in love with the idea of a house. I was not in love with that house. I was in love with the concept of that house. I'm in love with the idea of freedom. I'm in love with the idea of expansion. Those are all the things you said. You didn't tell us about one cupboard. You didn't tell us about a pantry. You didn't tell us about the tile. You didn't tell us about the carpet or lack of it. You didn't tell us about the yard. You didn't tell us about the gardens or lack of them. You didn't tell us about it. You told us about the way you wanted to feel, you see. So this experience, bless this wonderful experience. It has sharpened our awareness of what we want. It has put more into the vortex. And most of all, it's made me aware that I want to bring my grid into vibrational alignment with what's in the vortex. Yes?
Yes.
Aren't you glad it fell through? Aren't you glad that the source within you knows what's in your vortex and, most important, knows where what's in your vortex is and your relationship to it and is guiding you incrementally every step of the way right to it? And don't you love knowing that it's supposed to be fun every step along the way? that it's not about getting there and getting into the house. This is part of the journey. This may very well be the best part of the journey because it's not fun to move.